I'll never forget the day my daughter-in-law looked me in the eyes and said, "You need to leave." Not goodbye. Not we'll talk later. Just, you need to leave. And you know what I did? I smiled. Not because I wasn't hurting. Not because I didn't care. But because in that moment, something inside me broke so quietly, I didn't even hear it snap. I smiled because I didn't know what else to do. Because crying would have made it real. And I wasn't ready for it to be real. My son stood behind her, silent. His hands were in his pockets. His eyes were on the floor. I'd known him since the day he was born, tiny fingers curling around my thumb, his first laugh sounding like wind chimes in summer. Now, he couldn't even look at me. All because of the man I'd trusted more than anyone. All because I believed in him, completely, blindly, foolishly. For 10 years, I'd called him family. For 10 years, I defended him, cooked for him, prayed for him. Even when others whispered, I said, "No, he's not like that." But he was. He was exactly like that. And the worst part? I saw the signs. I just didn't want to see them. Sound, piano swells softly, then recedes. You see, sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who teach us the hardest lessons. Not because they're evil. Not because they wake up wanting to hurt us. But because we build them up in our minds, so perfect, so kind, so good, that we stop seeing them as they really are. And when the truth finally crashes through, it doesn't come with sirens or shouting. It comes in silence. In a closed door. In a turned back. In a sun who won't meet your eyes. That I used to think love meant loyalty no matter what. Now I know, real love also means seeing clearly. This is the story of how I lost my son, not to distance, not to time, but to the man I believed was his greatest friend. And how, in losing him, I found myself again. Let me start at the beginning, not the painful part, but the good part. Because before there was pain, there was love. And that love was real. My name is Evelyn. I'm 72 now, but back then, I was 62, still sharp, still spry, still baking pies every Sunday like my mama taught me. I lived alone after my husband, Robert, passed. Cancer took him slow, 3 long years of hospital visits, weak smiles, and holding his hand while he slept. When he left, the house got too quiet. Not just quiet, empty. But then came my son, Daniel. Daniel was my light. Always had been. Born in '85, with Robert's strong jaw and my soft eyes. He was the kind of boy who'd bring home stray cats, cry at sad movies, and call me every Sunday without fail, even when he moved to the city for college. He met Leah in his last year of school. Smart girl. Quiet. A nurse with steady hands and a steady heart. I liked her right away. Not because she was perfect, she wasn't. But because she looked at my son like he was the only person in the room. They married 5 years later, in a backyard ceremony under oak trees. I still have the photo, Leah in a simple white dress, Daniel beaming, both of them barefoot in the grass. I cried so hard my mascara ran down my neck. And then, 2 years after that, came Ben, my grandson. Oh, Ben. He had Daniel's laugh and Leah's thoughtful eyes. From the day he was born, I held him like he was made of glass and stardust. I moved closer to them after Ben turned 1. Sold my old house, the one Robert and I built together, and bought a little cottage just 10 minutes away. I told myself it was for convenience. But really? I just wanted to be near them. Every Tuesday, I'd bring over chicken soup. Every Friday, I'd babysit so Daniel and Leah could have a night out. I folded Ben's tiny socks, sang him lullabies, and taught him how to plant tomatoes in the backyard. Life was good. Not flashy. Not perfect. But full. I first met Marcus at Ben's third birthday party. He was Daniel's new co-worker, something about tech, startups, disrupting industries. I never understood that part. But Marcus? He understood people. He showed up with a handmade wooden train for Ben, painted blue, wheels that actually turned. "You made this?" I asked, surprised. "Yeah," he said, smiling. "I like working with my hands. My grandpa taught me." That simple sentence, that's what got me. Because Robert had said the same thing to me, once, about his old workshop. Marcus was easy to talk to. He listened. Really listened. When I told him about Robert, he didn't rush to change the subject. He just nodded and said, "Some men leave echoes." I remember standing there in my kitchen later that night, thinking, what a kind soul. Over the next months, he became a regular. Dinner on Sundays. Helping fix the porch swing. Driving me to the grocery store when my car broke down. "He's like a brother to me, Mom," Daniel said one evening, washing dishes while I dried. "I can see that," I said. And I meant it. Because Marcus never asked for anything. He just gave. He'd mow my lawn without being asked. Bring me books he thought I'd like. Once, when I had the flu, he showed up with soup and sat on my porch for an hour, just to make sure I was okay. "You're too good, Marcus," I told him once. He just smiled that quiet smile and said, "Nah. I just know what matters." And I believed him. I believed him so completely that when little things started to shift, I brushed them off. Like how Daniel started canceling our Tuesdays. Or how Ben, who used to run to me when I came over, now hid behind Leah's legs. I told myself it was just life. Kids grow. Adults get busy. Friendships change. But deep down, a small voice whispered, "Something's wrong." I just didn't want to hear it. Because Marcus had become family. And you don't question family. Or so I thought. That it started with little things. Tiny things, really. The kind you'd miss if you weren't looking. Like how Marcus always sat between Daniel and me at dinner. Not on purpose, it never felt intentional. But somehow, without anyone saying a word, the space between my son and me began to stretch. I'd ask Daniel about work, and before he could answer, Marcus would jump in. "Oh, he's killing it, Evelyn. Big project coming up, crazy hours, but it's worth it." And Daniel would just nod, like he'd already said his piece. Or the way Marcus would correct me, gently, always gently, when I talked about the old days. "You know, Evelyn, things aren't like they used to be. People don't do that anymore." It wasn't rude. Just final. Like my memories didn't fit into the world he was building around my son. Then came the phone calls. At first, it was just Daniel calling less. Then, when he did call, Marcus was always there in the background, laughing, talking, filling the silence. One night, I called to check on Ben. He'd had a fever. Leah answered, voice tired. "He's okay now, Evelyn." Marcus stayed with him while I ran to the pharmacy. My chest tightened. Marcus? He stayed with Ben? Yeah. He's been so helpful lately. I didn't say anything. But I remember hanging up and standing in my kitchen, staring at the wall. Since when did Marcus stay alone with my grandson? I asked Daniel about it the next time I saw him. We were in his driveway, me holding a loaf of banana bread, him carrying groceries. "Marcus watches Ben now?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. Daniel shrugged. "Sometimes. He's great with kids. You know that." But I've never even seen him change a diaper. Daniel laughed. Mom, you don't have to worry. He's one of us. One of us. Those words should have comforted me. Instead, they sat in my stomach like a stone. Because if Marcus was one of us, then why did I feel like I was being pushed out? The real turning point came on a Sunday in October. I'd made my famous apple pie, Ben's favorite, and walked over unannounced. I hadn't seen him in 2 weeks. I missed his little voice. But when I knocked, Marcus opened the door. Evelyn, he said, surprised. Hey. Hi, Marcus. Is Ben home? I brought pie. He glanced behind him. Actually, we're kind of in the middle of something. I just want to say hello. He stepped outside, closing the door softly behind him. Listen. Daniel and Leah are trying a new routine with Ben. Less visitors during the week. Helps with his schedule. I'm not a visitor, I said, voice shaking just a little. I'm his grandmother. I know, Marcus said, placing a hand on my arm. And they love you. But, kids need consistency. Structure. He said it like he was doing me a favor. Like he was protecting them, from me. I stood there, holding that pie like it was a shield. I just miss him. Marcus's expression softened. I get it. But trust me, this is best for everyone. Everyone. But not me. I walked home in the rain that day. The pie went uneaten. It sat on my counter until the crust got soggy and the apples turned brown. That night, I called Daniel. Did you tell Marcus to turn me away? There was a long pause. No, Mom. He was just trying to help. Help? Or control? Don't make this about him, Daniel said, voice tight. But it is about him. He's always there, always speaking for you, always. Mom, he interrupted. Marcus has been there for me in ways you don't understand. And I haven't? My voice cracked. Silence. Then, quietly, it's different now. I didn't know what that meant. But I felt it, like a door closing slowly behind me. After that, I started paying attention. I noticed how Marcus never let Daniel make decisions alone. If Daniel wanted to take a job in another city, Marcus would say, "You'd be crazy to leave now, you're finally getting traction here." And Daniel would nod, like it was his own thought. I noticed how Marcus spoke about me, always kind, always respectful. But always distant. He's lucky to have you, Evelyn, he'd say. But never, I'm lucky to have you. And I noticed how Ben looked at me, with confusion now, not joy. One day, I asked him, "Do you still love Grandma?" He looked at Marcus, who was sitting on the couch. Then back at me. "I love everyone," he said carefully. That broke my heart more than anger ever could. The worst moment came during Thanksgiving. I'd cooked for days, turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, 3 kinds of pie. I brought it all over, smiling, pretending everything was fine. But when I walked in, the table was already set. And Marcus was at the head, where I usually sat. "Evelyn," Leah said, hugging me. "Put the food in the kitchen. Marcus is carving." I stood there, holding my green bean casserole like a fool. Daniel barely looked up from his phone. Marcus gave me a warm smile. "Thanks for bringing sides, Evelyn. We've got the main course covered." Sides. Like I was an afterthought. I sat in the chair farthest from the head of the table. Watched Marcus tell stories, funny, smart, full of charm. Watched Daniel laugh like he hadn't laughed with me in years. Watched Leah relax into the rhythm of their new family. A family that no longer included me. Halfway through dinner, Ben dropped his fork. It clattered on the floor. Before I could move, Marcus said, "Ben, pick it up. We don't make messes." Ben froze. Then, quietly, he said, "Grandma says it's okay to make mistakes." Marcus didn't miss a beat. "Grandma's sweet. But in this house, we keep things tidy." I felt like I'd been slapped. Not hard. Just enough to sting. I didn't say anything. I just ate my dry turkey and left early, saying I wasn't feeling well. But the truth? I was heartsick. You know what's strange? Looking back, I can't point to one big fight. No screaming match. No slammed doors. It was all quiet. Like water wearing down stone, drop by drop. Marcus never said a bad word about me. Never yelled. Never lied outright. But he didn't have to. He just made himself so essential, so needed, that I became optional. And the saddest part? My son let it happen. Not because he didn't love me. But because Marcus made him feel seen, heard, admired, things I thought I'd already given him. I kept telling myself, it's just a phase. He'll come back. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't a phase. This was a slow, steady replacement. And I was the one being replaced. It happened on a Tuesday. Just an ordinary Tuesday. Cloudy sky. Laundry day. I was folding towels when my phone rang. It was Leah. Her voice was flat. Not angry. Not sad. Just done. "Evelyn," she said. "We need you to stop coming over." I froze. Stop coming over? Yes. Why? What did I do? She took a breath. "It's not what you did. It's what you didn't do." I didn't understand. "Leah, please. Talk to me." There was silence. Then, quietly, Marcus told us everything. My heart stopped. Everything. About what? About the money. I stared at the wall. What money? The $12,000. From Daniel's college fund. I nearly dropped the phone. "What are you talking about? I never took any money." "Marcus said you asked him to cover for you. Said you were ashamed, but you needed it for your house repairs." "That's not true. I've never asked Marcus for money in my life." But even as I said it, I felt the trap closing. Marcus didn't miss a beat. Grandma's sweet. But in this house, we keep things tidy. I felt like I'd been slapped. Not hard. Just enough to sting. I didn't say anything. I just ate my dry turkey and left early, saying I wasn't feeling well. But the truth? I was heartsick. You know what's strange? Looking back, I can't point to one big fight. No screaming match. No slammed doors. It was all quiet. Like water wearing down stone, drop by drop. Marcus never said a bad word about me. Never yelled. Never lied outright. But he didn't have to. He just made himself so essential, so needed, that I became optional. And the saddest part? My son let it happen. Not because he didn't love me. But because Marcus made him feel seen, heard, admired, things I thought I'd already given him. I kept telling myself, it's just a phase. He'll come back. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't a phase. This was a slow, steady replacement. And I was the one being replaced. It happened on a Tuesday. Just an ordinary Tuesday. Cloudy sky. Laundry day. I was folding towels when my phone rang. It was Leah. Her voice was flat. Not angry. Not sad. Just, done. Evelyn, she said. We need you to stop coming over. I froze. Stop coming over? Yes. Why? What did I do? She took a breath. It's not what you did. It's what you didn't do. I didn't understand. Leah, please. Talk to me. There was silence. Then, quietly, Marcus told us everything. My heart stopped. Everything, about what? About the money. I stared at the wall. What money? The $12,000. From Daniel's college fund. I nearly dropped the phone. What are you talking about? I never took any money. Marcus said you asked him to cover for you. Said you were ashamed, but you needed it for your house repairs. That's not true. I've never asked Marcus for money in my life. But even as I said it, I felt the trap closing. When I lost my job, when Ben was sick, when I thought I'd lose everything, you were off gardening or baking pies. But Marcus? He stayed. I wanted to scream. I called every day. I brought soup. I held your son. But I didn't. Because I saw it then, Marcus had painted me as absent. As selfish. As less than. And Daniel believed the story. 2 days later, they came to my house. Daniel. Leah. Marcus. They stood on my porch like strangers. Daniel held a manila envelope. We're changing the locks, he said. You can't come to the house anymore. Or Ben's school. Or the park. I stared at him. My own grandson. I can't see him. It's temporary, Leah said. Until things calm down. Things? I laughed, a broken sound. There are no things. There's just Marcus pulling strings. Marcus stepped forward, calm as ever. Evelyn, I never wanted this. But your behavior, it's becoming toxic. Toxic? I whispered. You question everything. You undermine me. You make Daniel feel guilty for having a life outside you. I looked at my son. Do you really believe that? Daniel wouldn't meet my eyes. I need space, Mom. And that's when I knew. This wasn't temporary. This was forever. I nodded slowly. All right. I went inside and packed a small bag, just clothes, my wedding ring, Robert's photo. When I came back out, Marcus was holding Ben's hand. My grandson looked confused. Grandma, he said. My heart shattered. I knelt down. Be good, sweetheart. Love your daddy. And your mommy. Then I kissed his forehead, soft, quick, and stood up. As I walked past Daniel, I whispered, he's not who you think he is. Daniel didn't respond. And Marcus? He gave me that same kind smile, the one that now felt like a knife. Take care of yourself, Evelyn, he said. I almost laughed. Because the man who just helped destroy my family was wishing me well. I drove home in silence. No radio. No tears. Just numbness. For 3 days, I didn't leave my bed. I didn't eat. Didn't answer the phone. The world kept turning. But mine had stopped. Then, on the 4th day, a letter came. Not an email. Not a text. A real letter, in a plain white envelope. It was from Leah. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a single page. Evelyn. I'm sorry it came to this. But Marcus has been like a brother to Daniel. He's saved him more than once. I can't risk losing that. Please respect our boundaries. For Ben's sake. Leah. No, love. No, Mom. Just. Leah. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. That night, I sat on my porch and watched the stars. And for the first time, I let myself ask the question I'd been avoiding. Did I do this? Was I too clingy? Too old-fashioned? Too much? Maybe Marcus wasn't the villain. Maybe I was, but then I remembered Ben's face when he called me Grandma. I remembered Daniel laughing as a boy, rolling in the grass. I remembered Robert squeezing my hand and saying, "You're the heart of this family, Evie." No. I wasn't the problem. Marcus was. But proving it? Reaching my son through the fog Marcus had built? That felt impossible. So I did the only thing I could. I waited. And I prayed. Not for revenge. Not for justice. But for clarity. For my son to see, on his own, that the man he called brother was not who he thought he was. The next year was the longest of my life. No calls. No visits. Not even a birthday card for Ben. I marked his 4th birthday alone, baked a cupcake, sang "Happy Birthday" to his photo, and cried into my apron. But something changed in me during that silence. I stopped begging. Stopped calling. Stopped trying to prove I was right. Instead, I started living. I joined a garden club. Volunteered at the library. Started writing letters, not to Daniel, but to myself. In those pages, I untangled the mess in my head. I wrote about Robert. About Daniel as a boy. About the way Marcus's charm felt like sunlight, until you realized it was a spotlight, and you were just standing in its glare while he shone. I also wrote about my mistakes. Because I had made them. I'd been so focused on being needed, I forgot to let Daniel grow. I'd clung so tightly, I'd smothered without meaning to. Marcus didn't create that distance. He just used it. But I helped build the crack he walked through. That realization didn't make me hate myself. It made me tender. Like a bruise that finally stops hurting, but still reminds you to be gentle. Then, in the spring, something unexpected happened. Daniel called. Not to argue. Not to accuse. Just to talk. "I had a dream about you," he said, voice rough. "You were teaching me to ride a bike. And you kept saying, 'I've got you.'" I closed my eyes. I did say that. He was quiet for a long time. Then, Marcus moved out. My breath caught. Why? He got a job offer in Seattle. Left last week. I didn't say, good. I didn't gloat. But inside, a door creaked open. "Are you okay?" I asked. "I don't know," he admitted. "Things feel off. Like the house is too quiet." I understood. Marcus had filled every silence. Now, without him, the emptiness was loud. We talked for an hour that day. Not about Marcus. Not about the past. Just life. Ben's new obsession with dinosaurs. Leah's promotion. The leak in their kitchen sink. Small things. But they were our small things. And they were a start. Weeks passed. Then months. Daniel called more often. Sometimes just to say hello. Sometimes to ask for my famous pancake recipe. One day, he asked, "Do you think, maybe I misjudged things?" I didn't say, yes. I said, "People see what they need to see, Daniel. When you're lost, you grab onto whoever holds out a hand." He was quiet. Then, He never mentioned you. Not once. My heart ached. Maybe he knew the truth wouldn't fit his story. Another silence. Then, softly, I miss you, Mom. I cried then. Not sad tears. But tears of relief, like rain after a long drought. We didn't rush. We took it slow. First, phone calls. Then, coffee at a diner halfway between our houses. The first time I saw him in person, I almost didn't recognize him. He'd lost weight. His eyes looked tired. But when he hugged me, it was like no time had passed. I'm sorry, he whispered. I held him tight. You don't have to say that. Yes, I do. It took another 2 months before he brought Ben. I waited on my porch, heart pounding. When their car pulled up, Ben jumped out before it even stopped. Grandma. He ran into my arms like a storm of joy. I held him so tight, I thought I'd never let go. Later, as we sat on the swing, Ben said, Marcus said you didn't love us anymore. My blood ran cold. Oh, sweetheart, that wasn't true. Then why did you go away? I didn't go away, I said gently. I was just waiting for you to be ready to see me again. He thought about that. Then, I'm ready now. I kissed his hair. Me too. The final piece came on a quiet Sunday. Daniel came alone. We sat on my porch with iced tea. I found something, he said. He pulled out his phone and showed me a message. It was from Marcus. Sent 2 weeks after he left. Hey man, just checking in. Hope things are good. P.S. Hope Evelyn stopped causing trouble. That woman's got issues. I stared at the screen. Daniel's face was pale. I didn't know he talked about you like that. He never did to your face, I said softly. That was the point. Daniel put his head in his hands. I let him. I let him turn me against you. No, I said. You were hurting. And he offered you a story that made sense. But it wasn't true. No, I agreed. But you had to find that out for yourself. He looked at me, eyes full of regret. I don't know how to fix this. You already did, I said. By coming back. We sat in silence for a long time. Just breathing. Healing didn't happen overnight. There were awkward moments. Hurt feelings that resurfaced. Nights when I lay awake, wondering if Marcus had done irreversible damage. But slowly, steadily, we rebuilt. Not the same as before. Not the way it was when Daniel was a boy. But something new. Something stronger. Because now, we didn't just love each other. We chose each other. Every day. Even when it was hard. And Marcus? I never spoke his name again. Not out of bitterness. But because he no longer mattered. He'd played his part in our story. And then, he was gone. Like a shadow when the sun rises, the real gift wasn't getting my son back. It was learning to love without owning. To care without controlling. To be a mother. Without needing to be the center. And in that freedom, I found peace. You know. I used to think love was about holding on tight. Keeping everyone close. Never letting go. But life taught me something different. Real love is about seeing people as they truly are. Not as you wish them to be. Marcus wasn't evil. He was lonely. And clever. And good at filling the spaces people leave empty. But I let my fear, the fear of being replaced, of becoming irrelevant, blind me to what was really happening. And in doing so, I almost lost everything that if I could go back, I wouldn't change Marcus. I'd change me. I'd hold my son a little looser. Trust him a little more. Let him stumble, knowing I'd be there when he fell, but not trying to stop the fall. Because that's how they learn to stand. And I'd trust my own eyes. Not the stories others tell me. Not the charm that glitters on the surface. But the quiet truth that lives in actions. Over time, today, I see my grandson every week. We bake pies. We plant flowers. We talk about nothing and everything. And Daniel? He calls me just to say, "Hey, Mom." No reason. No agenda. Just love. Simple. Real. Earned. I still miss the old days sometimes. When everything felt certain, and safe, and clear. But I don't want them back. Because the woman I am now. She knows the difference between devotion and possession. Between loyalty and blindness. And she chooses to see that. So if you're listening. And you're holding someone too tight. Or trusting someone too easily. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself. Am I loving this person as they are? Or as I need them to be? Because the truth might hurt. But living in a lie? That hurts more. And when the storm comes. And it will. May you have the courage to smile through the pain. Not because you're denying it. But because you know, deep in your bones. You'll survive it. And on the other side. There's grace. There's peace. And there's love. Not perfect, not flawless. But real. You are enough. Just as you are. And so am I.